Hello everyone, and welcome back to a review. Today, we are looking at the Neca Predator. Just the Predator from Predator 2. City Hunter. And we're looking at another Neca figure already. I know that was kind of fast, but I've been buying a lot of Neca figures, and by a lot I mean 2. But hey, that's more than 0. So here is the box for your Predator boy. There's some promotional pictures, and I must say these pictures are very similar to how the figure looks, which is always refreshing. You can see some edgy artwork on the top, choking hazard. That's about it. And you can open the front. I do like these boxes quite a bit. I took the liberty of removing the figure because it can be quite the hassle. And you got some more edgy art and some Velcro. Very nice, very deluxe. And I guess we can look at accessories first. This is his first accessory. It's a human skull connected to a human spine, and it's a bloody. It's a trophy. Isn't that interesting? Kind of messed up here. But you know, we'll take it. It's unique for sure. You also have a cannon blast effect. We'll look at this a little bit later on, but I really appreciate blast effects, and I don't know, I've not been seeing them a lot lately. Maybe it's just the stuff I buy, but I don't have too many. And this is for the gauntlet. We'll take a look at this a little bit later. And this is just a disclaimer. I've not actually seen the movie. I tried to watch it a couple times, but something always goes wrong, and I can just never watch it. So some stuff I'm a little ignorant on, but I'm just saying that. I might not know the exact name of everything. So now we can take a look at his extra hands. He comes with 5 hands in toto. This is his first hand. It's like a thumbs up. I think it's for gripping stuff, but for me it just really looks like a thumbs up. And this is an issue I have with a couple of the parts on this figure. Actually already broke something on this figure because of this, but they painted over a bunch of the joints, so you actually like can't use some articulation. Like, that's super crooked, and it's a swivel, but you can't really correct it without forcing it, and that makes me very uncomfortable. Then you have this is his like default hand, the one he has out of the box, and it is just this very sinister gripping hand, and it's very detailed. The paint on this whole figure is pretty incredible. That's just a pretty intimidating hand, very sharp fingernails. And he also has this karate chop action hand. It also can be reaching into his pocket hand. We'll take a look at that later. It's pretty cool. It reminds me a lot of King Crimson. And then since we're on body parts, we can take a look at his alternate head, which is charming. Very interesting. His weird hair is all rubbery, which is pretty cool. And it's very reminiscent to how the hair is in the movies. He also has those teeth, which are very interesting. Lots of detail there. Very weird throat there, my man. He also has these beady little eyes. Pretty creepy. Pretty creepy fella. I prefer to have him with the mask because that's just nightmare fuel, honestly. Come on. And then a piece that I broke. We'll take a look at that later. And then this is his spear quarterstaff thing. And this is pretty cool because it's erecting. That's the proper use of that word, believe me. And as you can see, it just looks like a stick with some cool paint apps. But then, boom. Look at that. Same thing there. I don't know how this works. It doesn't really seem like it makes much sense to me spatially, but you know, we'll roll with it. Alien tech, you know. can see this is pretty cool. It's very tall. Let's get Tahu out real quick. A lot taller than Tahu. Pretty impressive. It is a little bent, but it happens to the best of us. Come on. And now we can finally take a look at the Predator. And he is actually the same height as Bob Ross, if you're wondering. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Bob the Predator? And he is quite the impressive figure. It looks like he jumped out of a TV. And we can again just bust Tahu out real quick, and as you can see, he is really towering over Tahu. And if I was Tahu, I would be running. I would be running right now. And now I guess we can take a look at the details, because there are a ton of them. This guy is crazy. He is just covered in detail. They did not skimp out on the detail. So, first of all, he has this thing. I actually don't know what this is. I believe it is a net launcher. I'm a little confused on what it is, but it can fit this hand, so you can put his hand in there. I don't know exactly what's up with that. You can't take it off, so I'm not sure if it's like some sort of gun. I could not really find anything on it, to be honest. Just being honest with you guys. And then he has these very interesting feet. Kind of reptilian looking. And again, very sharp. And just the paint on this guy is crazy. And he has some armor, more armor. And this armor, this armor is actually kind of rubbery. A lot of the stuff on this guy is actually rubber. And here's another accessory that I actually did not mention. He has a disc that he can throw, so you can play some ultimate frisbee. And it actually attaches to his leg, and it is but difficult to say the least to get out. Let's see if I can do this without breaking anything. There we go. That's pretty cool. It's a throwing disc, so he can like whoosh. That's pretty cool. You can't really line it up. Like, it's a little hard to get him to hold it. But you can kind of get him to do something with it. You can see there's a lot of techie detail in there. Pretty cool. This is also rubbery. His booty is also rubber, which is kind of interesting, so you can poke his butt. And that looks a little uncomfortable, not gonna lie, but still a lot of nice paint detail. And he has a bunch of these little bags and things. You can see it's just painted all the way around very nicely, and it's connected with these little rubber strings, and you cannot actually take these off without like taking the figure apart. Another little baggie, which is connected the same way. It's painted all the way around again. Very nice. You can see just so much sculpted detail and paint detail. Pretty crazy. This guy's pretty ripped. Not as ripped as Bob Ross, but he's close. And he has more armor around the back, which is not quite as rubbery. And then this clip right here is actually for storing the spear, which is pretty dang cool. It does look a little out of place color-wise, because all this figure is so detailed, and then you have this like kind of toyish clip. It's not that big of a deal, honestly. I don't really care. I'm just stating it. One person might think it looks a little weird. And here you have his back, which is pretty detailed. Let me just see if I can get his hair out of the way. I've not actually been able to detach his head. I switched out one of his hands, and that was scary. That was scary, let me tell you. And I really don't want to like snap his neck, so I've not successfully removed his head yet. But you can see he has a lot of back detail. He has this thing, just kind of tech detail, and this pretty cool pauldron, which kind of looks like some sort of reptilian leather. And then down there. It's a little tricky to see. And again, the evil light. Why does this light fall off? I have it mounted in the same place as the other one, just mirrored. Do not understand. And he does have, yeah, he has some back detail that you can see. It's very difficult to get a look at. And he has this neck thing, kind of a fancy choker, who knows what it is. And he actually has a shoulder cannon, which has articulation, which is pretty cool. You can see, nicely detailed again. And this thing can swivel around. It's very tiny, so I would be extremely careful with it. But you can kind of move it back and forward a little bit. Pretty cool. Again, I would be very careful with it. And he has this other pauldron, which is rubbery. And then he has his blades here, which don't retract or anything, which is a little weird to me. I think it would have been cool if you could remove them, especially because they're very fragile. Fragile. So just be careful with them. They're very well detailed, and they're actually very sharp, which is pretty cool. And here's his other hand, which is basically identical to the other one. It's just like his pinky is broken. Don't know what's going on there. And then this is the part I broke. He actually has a little computer screen right there. It's very hard to see. It has little characters, and that right there is a hinge. You see that little white spot? That's where I broke it. So this piece, you can see there's some tech detail, and then that's the back side. You can see there's a hinge right there, and it's actually, this is so hard to show off, but there's actually a hinge right there, and the paint basically glued it, so it doesn't actually work, and I didn't know that. So it closes up pretty nicely. Like, I didn't notice it at first, and I was like, oh, a hinge, and then I like barely poked it, and it just, I'm very sorry about that, and I wanted to do the review before I try to fix it, just in case I really messed something up, and also so I could show you guys the computer panel, because it's an important detail. That's pretty cool, and that's very small. It scares me, the amount of detail in this figure. And this is his gauntlet. It's pretty cool. More tech detail. And look at that. There's even a strap back there. Just crazy amounts of detail on this figure. I don't know what's going on with this shoulder. It's a little messed up, but it's not terrible. And then, yeah, this piece can obviously come off. So you can remove this, and then take this piece that we looked at very briefly before, and you can place it on there. I mean, it has like an open gauntlet. I guess you can push it in a little bit more. And I don't know what plot relevance this has exactly, but that's pretty cool. I imagine it shoots something. And you can definitely do some cool poses with that. And finally, his mask, which is very nice. Lots of awesome paint detail. And then, of course, his rubber hair. And now, I guess we can talk about articulation. And there's no I guess in there. We definitely can. We're Americans. We can do what we want. And oh boy, does this guy have quite a bit of articulation. Also, this belt piece is kind of rubbery and connected via string. And he has more detail. More detail. Crazy, crazy, crazy. And I almost forgot, but you can put this blast effect on his cannon. Just snap it onto place, and that's pretty cool. Pew pew. Very nice. Ugh, don't want to break anything. And this guy has quite a bit of articulation, and pretty useful articulation. So I guess we can start from the bottom. His legs can go back, his feet are on hinges and then can go back and forth just a little bit. I think that's about all you would need. And then they can also swivel around, which is pretty nice. And there's a little bit of side to side, very little bit. And this foot is basically the same, a little more stiff. Ooh, but you can definitely get it to work. And he has a double hinge at the knee, which you can see, so he can bend his knees really far. Don't want to break anything, as I've been saying throughout this whole video. So that can go really far. Quite a crazy bend, so you can do some crazy like lunges, some sprinting maybe. And then of course the other leg is the same. And then his very big thick thighs have a lot of articulation. They can kind of swivel a little bit, and then they can splay out quite a bit. And since this piece is rubber, it'll just move along with the leg, which is very nice. And nothing's breaking. Everything's working rather well. The same side, the other side can of course do the same. And then he can, do some very high kicks, and he can go back pretty far. And his butt is rubbery, so he can go unnaturally far. You can do some splits there. I'm very sorry. And then it's a little hard to use because of all of this detail getting in the way, but he does have a waist swivel which can go 360. And let me kind of straighten everything out. Oh no, everything's all messed up. And he has kind of a little bit of an ab crunch sort of deal. And it's just kind of the good old abdomen ball joint, which it does not work very well. It can kind of just wiggle around. And then his arms are also pretty well articulated. He has the bicep swivel, which looks very good and works very well. And his shoulders can go up, and everything will bend out of the way because it's rubbery. So he can T-pose on y'all, which is very nice. This piece is also rubbery, but I would be very careful with it. So it's a little bit harder to T-pose with this arm, but of course it's possible. So you can assert his dominance like a madman. And then of course he has the swivel, which can go 360. And then double jointed arm knees, which looks really good. Nice bend there, so you can do the kind of mask taking off thing. I'm a little disappointed that a mask as just an accessory is not included, so he can kind of take his mask off. That would have been really cool, but it didn't come with the thing, and it's not a deal breaker. And he has kind of a forearm swivel, which you don't get every day. That's very useful, so you can position the blades where you want. And then here, I'll use this hand. This arm also has the forearm swivel, and then his hands can of course swivel all the way around. Depending on the hand, it can move back and forth on a swivel, but it does not work too well with these hands because of the paint, as I said before. And then head articulation is not quite as good as the rest of the figure, but it's still there. You can just basically turn his head from side to side. It's very difficult to do anything else, and I actually don't think he has any other articulation, or at least that you can realistically use. I think there's a little bit of a swivel in there, but it's not that useful, and that is making quite the scary noise. So that is everything I have to say about the Neca Predator. Would I recommend him? Yes. Do not get him as a toy. at all. Please don't. It will explode in your face. But as a collectible figure, he is incredible. If you're like a Predator fan, I would definitely say get this figure. He is super cool looking. He has a good amount of accessories. Again, it would have been nice if he had a mask that he could take on and off. But, oh well. He's very cool. He costs $30, which I think is a fair price. His articulation and paint apps are pretty crazy, pretty good. I didn't realize there was a weird Lego set in frame. And all around, he's just a pretty good figure. I would definitely be careful with the gauntlet there. I'm not sure how consistent that is. If you get yours and poke it and it doesn't open, I would not try and budge it because it'll probably break. I forgot to mention he also does come with this cool background. I always like backgrounds. So I would recommend them. I think it's worth the price. But that's all I have to say, so peace out.